Welcome back, Sebastian here. So time for my preview for the 2024 Formula 1 Monaco Grand Prix. So of course, this is, the jewel in the F1 crown, as they say. But that being said, it's always a race where Saturday's the one that matters and Sunday is just kind of there for the fun. So taking a look at last year's race. Last year was won by Max Verstappen, second was Fernando Alonso, and third was Esteban Ocon. Definitely a surprise result for him. Great result for him as well, getting on that podium in what was a pretty much a midfield car. We obviously had that spat of rain mid-race, which definitely turned things around quite a bit with the strategy. With that being said, Verstappen managed to hold on to his lead and would basically stay in front. Of course, there was a lot of controversy around Aston Martin's strategy call last year with Alonso pitting him twice in a pretty short span, which arguably cost him the win. Stroll and Perez, both drivers, their teammates were on the podium, and both of them had pretty torrid weekends last time out in Monaco. But taking a look at the track, 3.337 kilometers, we're expected to have 78 laps on Sunday. Of course, it's not the full 305 kilometers distance like we have at other Grand Prix. The track is so slow that if we did do that, it would be close to a 2.5-3 hour race. The fastest lap record is 1:12.909, set by Lewis Hamilton in 2021. For the track itself, obviously it's basically been the same for many years. Your best chance at an overtake, if there are any, will be at the Nouvelle Chicane. Really, we have DRS from Anthony Nose down to Saint Devant, but the reality is that the straight is too short, so unless you have a massive pace delta, a second and a half, 2 seconds, you're not really going to be able to make a move there otherwise. And anyway, before making that move to the Nouvelle Chicane, of course, really important to have a good run through Mirabeau, through the hairpin, and getting a good exit out of Poitiers if you want to have any hope of getting alongside and making a move down the inside of the Nouvelle Chicane. I think beyond that, the track itself, street circuit, very narrow. Overtaking is almost impossible. We did see some last year in the wet conditions, but because of that, qualifying is going to be key and it's going to be super important. So even just watching through the free practice sessions, you can see then some drivers are just a little bit out of sorts, and they're just, even if their practice times are not good on a traditional weekend, it wouldn't be a big deal. But at Monaco, you really have to kind of ramp up throughout the whole weekend, and having a crash in practice could definitely set you back through qualifying. Because overtaking is so difficult, strategy is also going to be really key. So making sure you pit at exactly the right time and making sure that you don't lose any positions. Because it's a street circuit, walls are very close, the safety car risk is fairly high. We haven't had that many in recent years, but that being said, it can definitely throw a spanner in the works for the strategy. And another thing that's definitely characteristic of this track, because tire drag is so low, and because if you get stuck behind a slow car, you can easily get just stuck. Overtakes are quite likely, so making sure you have track position, making sure that when you pit into free air and not stuck behind another car is also super important around this track. Now, moving on to the schedule for this weekend, of course, for Friday, actually, before we even get to Friday, free practice for Formula 2 is on Thursday, and that's at 3 o'clock local time. Then we get to Friday, free FP1 for Formula 1, 1:30 p.m. local time, qualifying for F2, 3:10 local time, and then FP2 for Formula 1, 5 p.m. local time. Weather in the afternoon, 20 degrees, partially cloudy. Then we get to Saturday, FP3, 12:30 p.m. local time, sprint race for Formula 2, 2:15 local time, and then qualifying 4 p.m. local time. And for the afternoon session, 19 degrees and partially sunny. Then we get to Sunday, Formula 2 feature race, 9:40 in the morning, quite early, and then we get the Grand Prix at 3 p.m. The weather for Sunday afternoon, 22 degrees, sunny with some clouds, but there looks like there may be some rain earlier in the afternoon, and because of the geographic location of Monaco, the weather can be quite unpredictable. I remember the rain that we had 2 years ago, 2022, came out of absolutely nowhere, and it led to the race being started the race being delayed. So of course that weather, if that rain does come on Sunday, could factor into the Grand Prix at some point. Like I said, tires this weekend are going to be the softest in the Pirelli range, soft C5, medium C4, and hard C3. Now, taking a look at the best and worst drivers historically on this track in qualifying, even more important because it is Monaco. So for the best three, and this is for percentage of out-qualifying their teammates, for Leclerc 80%, Alonso 78%, and for Norris 75%. In terms of average deltas, for Leclerc 0.7074, Alonso 0.242, and Norris 0.291. Now when we look at the worst drivers, we have Stroll, who's sitting by himself on 0%. It's never out-qualified a teammate at Monaco in his, I believe, 6 attempts at the track, and has been on average out-qualified by 0.585 seconds. So there you go, Alonso, there's your free win in the qualifying head-to-head there. For next, we have Gasly 40%, and for Hülkenberg also on 40%. In terms of delta, for Gasly, 0.112 seconds, and for Hülkenberg, actually in the positive 0.125. So indicates that when he does out-qualify teammates here, it's by a pretty big margin, but when he's out-qualified, it's by a pretty small margin. Now, finishing up with some predictions for this weekend, I think the last couple races, it does seem to suggest that at the front of the field, things have gotten very tight. And because qualifying is going to be so important here, it's really going to be, unless you have a mistake by a driver, a massive strategy blunder, or mechanical DNF, the drivers that finish, that qualify in that top 3, top 4, are going to be the ones who finish there at the end of Sunday. So I'm going to go with the man who has gotten all 7 pole positions to start the 2024 season, and that is Max Verstappen. Not really a whole lot of other reason otherwise to go against that pick. That being said, for number 2 and number 3 on the podium, I think I'm going to go with Lando Norris second, and I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc in third. So Leclerc, really good at this track. Norris also very good. That being said, the last couple of races, I would say that McLaren would have the slight advantage on the McLarens in qualifying trim. They definitely did last time out in Imola. Obviously, Monaco, a very different track, maximum downforce, and that's how Ocon was able to get a podium. Qualified very, very well. The cars somehow magically worked for the Monaco track, and we might get another surprise this weekend. We might have a car like the Mercedes, for example, that just magically works really, really well in the very extreme conditions that are Monaco. So there you go. There's my preview for the 2024 Monaco Grand Prix. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out. Anyway, I'll be back a bit later for the preview for the Formula E race that's also happening this week. Anyway, goodbye.